Hare Krishna. Thank you for joining. Let's make a start with the Radha Madhav. Jai Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Bihari, Jai Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Bihari, Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha, Jaya Giravardhari, Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha, Jaya Giravardhari, Shodanandana Rajjana Ranjana, Shodanandana Rajjana Ranjana, Yamuna Tiravanachari, Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Bihari, Jai Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Bihari, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Om Agyan Timirhandasya Gyananjana Shalakya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Taktam Yena Bhutale Swam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuttapadakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavcha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathamritam Tam Sajivam Sadhuvetam Savadutam Krishna Setam Krishna Chaitanya Deva Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha E Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kant Radha Kant Namastute Tapta Kanchan Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sutadevi Brahmami Hari Priya Vancha Kalpatu Brihascha Kitpa Sindhu Patitana Pavanebhyo Vaishnavyo Namo 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 Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Śrīmate Bhaktivedanta Swami iti namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschati Desadarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasti Gaur Bhakt Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Mukhrungoti Vachalam Pangum Langyate Girim Yat Kirpatam Hamandeshi Gurun Din Taranam Paramananda Madam Shitane Ishram Hariyam Tassat Narayam Namaskritya Naram Cheva Narottamam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jemaduriyat Nashta Presha Abdureshu Nityam Bhavasya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhakti Bhagavati Nestiki. Hare Krishna. So thank you all for joining. We'll continue. And last time we were talking about the shyness of women, which is a quality, as mentioned as a quality in the female gender. And we're talking about developing consciousness, even having a photo or our photo with underdressed, and people look at it with lusty eyes, that can affect our consciousness. So in us, there's subtle ways our consciousness can be affected, not only just gross ways. So be very careful, especially as a devotee, with our behavior, with our speech, with our actions, and seems with our photos as well. How we dress. So, we have to have the right image. Should match. It's like a brand. It's like the Iskcon brand or Krishna conscious brand the brand is supposed to carry all the way through from the name to the fame. It should carry, everything about you should match. It's not like you're saying one thing and you're saying I believe in this and that and I am a devotee and my name is spiritual name, but then you dress like karmis. It's like that. Everything the brand has to match all the way, and there has to be a connection that should be in balance, not one going one way with one thing and another way with the other. It should all follow through properly to represent that brand of devotees of Krishna, and that we want to please Krishna's senses, not our senses or anybody else's senses for that matter. So okay, let's carry on. We're on verse 20. Anoyanyam asit sanjalpa uttam shloka chetasam Kauravendra Strinam Sarva Shruti Manoharaha. So Anyonyam, among each other, Asit, there was Sanjalpa, talking, Uttam Shlok, the Supreme, who is praised by selected poetry, Chetasam, of those whose hearts are absorbed in that way, Kaurav Indra, the king of Kurus, Pura, capital, Strinam, all the ladies, Sarva, all, Shruti, the Vedas, Manahara, attractive to the mind. So absorbed in the thought of transcendental qualities of the Lord, who is sung in select poetry, the ladies on the roofs of all the houses of Hastinapur began to talk to him. This talk was more attractive than the hymns of the Vedas. So in the Bhagavad-Gita it is said that in all the Vedic literatures the goal is the personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna. Actually, the glories of the Lord are depicted in such literature as the Vedas, Ramayana and Mahabharata. And in the Bhagavatam they are specifically mentioned in respect to the Supreme Lord. Therefore, while the ladies on the tops of the houses in the capital of the kings of the Kuru dynasty were talking about the Lord, their talk was more pleasing than the Vedic hymns. Anything sung in the praise of the Lord is Shruti Mantra. There are songs of Thakur Narottam Das, one of the Acharyas in the Gaudiya Sampradaya, composed in simple Bengali language. But Thakur Vishwanath Chakravarti, another very learned Acharya of the same Sampradaya, has approved the songs by Thakur Narottam Das to be as good as Vedic mantras. This is why we sing the songs of the Acharyas, the bhajans. And this is so because of the subject matter. The language is immaterial, but the subject matter is important. The ladies who were all absorbed in the thoughts and actions of the Lord developed the consciousness of Vedic wisdom by the grace of the Lord, and therefore, although such ladies might not have been learned scholars in Sanskrit or otherwise, still whatever they spoke was more attractive than the Vedic hymns. The Vedic hymns in the Upanishads are sometimes indirectly directed to the Supreme Lord, but the talks of the ladies were directly spoken of the Lord, and thus they were more pleasing to the heart. The ladies' talks appear to be more valuable than the learned Brahmins' benedictions. Amazing. So, if the singing hymns, it's not necessarily coming from the heart, but these ladies were, really believing in what they were saying, and they were saying, with happiness, or maybe sadness in this case, because Krishna was leaving. So it's mentioned that any glorification of the Lord is good as Shruti mantra, Vedic mantra. Mahaprabhu empowered Narottam Das to sing. Language is not important, but the content is important. Srila Prabhupada used English to glorify and explain the scriptures in an unrefined language. So instead of Sanskrit, glorification takes place in English. The praise takes place in English. The ladies, although they may not have been scholarly or Brahminical, they spoke whatever they could, and that was more attractive than the Vedic hymns. When we connect to the powerhouse of Krishna consciousness, then the knowledge will manifest in our heart. Divya Gyan Hriday Prakashito. The Guru passes the message into the heart when you are connected. So, before we can love Krishna, we must appreciate Krishna's opulence, magnanimity, Krishna's greatness. Therefore, you find in Bhagavatam, a lot of the verses in the early chapters are focusing on creation. Yeah, you think like, why are they talking about creation? The sages wanted to know about creation. Why they want to know about creation? Why not pastimes? Why was Sutta Goswami talking about creation? Because we have to understand Krishna, how great he is. Unless, like Rukmani, she heard how great Krishna was, and she fell in love with him. So we have to understand the greatness, and then he's not only great, he's also sweet as well. Now sometimes people are just great, but they have no sweetness. So Krishna is the greatest, and he's also the sweetest. And when you know that, then how can you not fall in love with him? So when we appreciate Krishna's opulence, then we proceed in cultivating our love for Krishna. And that love is solidly grounded, cemented. If we just jump into loving Krishna without having knowledge of him, it can lead to sahajya, or we take Krishna as very cheap, or we can be very offensive. So we have to understand Krishna first. We need to make sure we don't minimize knowledge of Krishna consciousness. Knowledge is very important for those who aspire to become lovers of Krishna. We can only love someone we know. That's the bottom line. The more we know, the more our love can intensify. At the same, knowing Krishna's greatness leads to surrender at the same time. If we don't understand who Krishna is and his greatness, then the love we have is only sentimental and superficial. When we understand Krishna, then our dormant love will awaken and we become serious lovers of Krishna. The more we love Krishna, the more it will reflect in our desires, in our actions and words. If we don't understand who Krishna is and his greatness, we should engage in devotional service at the same time hear about Krishna. The hearing process is very powerful and should not be underestimated. So this is what Srila Prabhupada is telling, that let's try and understand the greatness, how great Krishna is. That's the first thing. The love will develop later. The love takes time to develop. There has to be a relationship. There has to be some service. So he's saying, serve Krishna, and at the same time, know his greatness. This is why we need the knowledge. Otherwise, we think the knowledge will come in the heart anyway as we develop the love for Krishna. Well, it won't, because you got to know, who you're serving, why you're serving him, what's the relationship. Sabandh, Avidya and Projan, you have to know which way you're going. If you don't, so there's certain amount of knowledge you have to acquire in order to serve Krishna. You have to understand Krishna before you, or while you serve him, not less than before, but while you serve him, and then it will develop into love for him. 21. Savai kilyam purusha purutano ya ek asid aveshesha atmani agre gunabhyo jagat atmani ishvare nimlitam atman nishi supta shaktishu. So Sahi, as I remember, Killa, definitely I am this Purish personality Godhead, Purantanha, the original Yahoo, Eka, only one. Asit, existed. Avishesha, materially unmanifested. Atmani, own self, agre, before creation. Gunavya, of the modes of nature. Jagat, Atmani, unto the super soul. Ishvare, unto the supreme Lord. Nimilitta, merged into. Atman, the living entity. Nishi Sukta, inactive at night. Shaktishu, of the energies. So it's further explained. They said, here he is, the original personality of Godhead, as we definitely remember him. He alone existed before the manifested creation of the modes of nature. And in him only, because he is the Supreme Lord, all living beings merge as if sleeping at night, their energy suspended. So it's further explained in the purport that there are two types of dissolution of the manifested cosmos. At the end of every 4.32 billion years, solar years, when Brahma, the Lord of one particular universe, goes to sleep, so that's one day of Brahma, then there's a night, so Brahma goes to sleep, there is one inhalation. And at the end of Lord Brahma's life, which is 100 years of 100 solar years, so you have one day, 4.32 billion years of Brahma's life, and just imagine his 100 years of life. Brahma's life, it takes place at the end of Brahma's 100 years of age. In our calculation, at the end of that figure, solar years, which is like 311 trillion years, there is complete annihilation of the entire universe. And in both periods, both the material energy called the Mahat Tattva and the marginal energy called the Jiva Tattva merge in the person of the Supreme Lord. The living beings remain asleep within the body of the Lord until there is another creation of the material world, and that is the way of creation, maintenance, and annihilation of the material manifestation. Right, so we all go back into Mahavishnu, and we lie there until for another 4.32 billion years, until the day breaks and the Brahma wakes up, and then he has to create all over again, whatever has been destroyed. It's not completely destroyed, only the lower planets are destroyed. Then he has to rebuild them. Once he's done that, then we probably come back into them according to our karma. Our karma is attached to us, and like barcode, this is all the nowadays QR codes with all the information about us is there, and we will take birth accordingly. The material creation is affected by the interaction of the three modes of material nature set in action by the Lord. And therefore it is said here that the Lord existed before the modes of material nature were set in motion. In the Shruti mantra, it is said that only Vishnu, the Supreme Lord, existed before the creation, and there was no Brahma, Shiva, or other demigods. Vishnu means the Mahavishnu, who is lying on the causal ocean. By his breathing, only all the universes are generated in seeds and gradually develop into gigantic forms with innumerable planets within each and every universe. So even the scientists understand that the planets come out of Mahavishnu's body's pores, his skin pores, and they first of all they're like golf balls size, and then they become gigantic planets. They expand into planets. This Mahavishnu is a plenary portion of Lord Shri Krishna, who is mentioned in the Brahma Samhita as follows. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto the original person of Godhead, Govinda, whose plenary portion is the Mahavishnu. All the Brahmas, the heads of the universes, live only for the period of his exhaling, after the universes are generated from the pores of his transcendental body. So everything coming out his pores. Thus Govinda and Lord Krishna is the cause of Mahavishnu also. The ladies talking about this Vedic truth must have heard it from authoritative sources. So they heard this information and they were discussing between themselves. An authoritative source is the only means of knowing about transcendental subject matter. Definitely there is no alternative. It's not something that we could ever work out. Srila Prabhupada had not given us this information. There is no way we would have worked it out. We know about Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh, and that's all we know. We don't know about Mahavishnu, Garbhodaksha Vishnu, like that, Shirdaksha Vishnu. So the merging of the living beings into the body of Mahavishnu takes place automatically at the end of Brahma's 100 years. But that doesn't mean that the individual living being loses his identity. Right? So the identity is there, and as soon as there is another creation by the supreme will of the Lord, all the sleeping, inactive living beings are again let loose to begin the activities in the continuation of past different spheres of life. It is called Suptotitha Nyaya, or awakening from sleep again and engaging in one's respective continuous duty. When a man is asleep at night, he forgets himself. What is he? What's his duty and everything of his waking state? But as soon as he wakens from slumber, he remembers all that he has to do and thus engages himself again in his prescribed activities. The living beings also remain merged in the body of Mahavishnu during the periods of inhalation. But as soon as there is another creation, they arise to take up their unfinished work. This is also confirmed in the Bhagavad-Gita 8:18 and 19. The Lord existed before the creative energy was set in action. The Lord is not a product of the material energy. His body is completely spiritual, and there is no difference between his body and himself. Before creation, the Lord remained in his abode, which is the absolute and one. So that abode is never destroyed. It's always there and always will be there. But material world is created and destroyed, created and destroyed. It just goes in, everything in the material world goes in cycles. There's a beginning, there is an end. There's being an end to us, our bodies, material bodies, and there's beginning and end to the material planet, the material universes, like that. There's always, start, end, everything is annihilated and then rebuilt again, and this process goes on and on, like that. So even the simple ladies knew the truth of Krishna, as mentioned in the shloka. They knew about his involvement in the creation. They knew he was the creator of everything. There are 4 types of inhalations. There's the occasional inhalation, there's the elemental inhalation, continuous inhalation, and ultimate inhalation, all of which are affected by the inherent potency of the Supreme Lord. Another word used for this is dissolution. So this occasional inhalation is called the Brahma's night. When Brahma goes to rest, it's occasional destruction. The universe is not destroyed, only the planetary systems are destroyed. The universe, as the globe, still remains, or it's called an egg, like an eggshell. And then the elemental is total material Brahma's life, total destruction at the end of the Brahma's life. Now the whole universe is destroyed. So when Brahma dies, everything dies with him. Continuous inhalation, constant time factor. We leave this world due to death. So it's continually things are changing. All the things are being replaced. Even our cells are being replaced every 7 years, completely replaced. So they're dying all the time, rebuilding. In 7 years, all of our body changes. Atyankitha, this is the ultimate, final transcendental knowledge of the truth. This happens when we get the knowledge of Krishna consciousness. This is real liberation. This is the destruction of our material existence. We get a spiritual non-destructive body. So the annihilation of a material body, of a material mind, material senses, and we material intelligence, everything is destroyed and we become totally spiritual. That is another kind of destruction. This is a favorable destruction. This is the destruction that we would like. So most of us only know about one Vishnu lying down and Lakshmi massaging his feet. See, this is all we know. We have no idea of three Vishnus: Mahavishnu, Karnodaksha Vishnu, Garbhodaksha Vishnu, Kshirodaksha Vishnu. Krishna was there before the creation and he was there before the three modes of nature. Therefore, he is transcendental, he is not material. Krishna is spiritual, he is the source of all creation. So we didn't know this. This is why, because there's a belief that Vishnu, there's only one Vishnu, so there's confusion of who's God. Is Krishna's God or Vishnu is God? Well, there's three Vishnus, and this is just not one universe, and you've got all the other universes, there's Vishnus there as well. So Vishnus are many, but there's only one Krishna. There's the head office, the headquarters. There is only one headquarters of all the universes. Headquarters here, you could say you could say Lord Brahma. He's the head of all the jivas. Could say that, but the head of everyone, head of all the heads, is Lord Krishna himself at the highest planet. Okay, so 22. Sa eva bhuyo nij virya choditam sav jiva mayam prakirtim sasrikshit satim anam rupatmani rupanamani vidit samano nusasaro shastra krita. So nusasara shastra krit. Sa he eva does bhuya, again nij own personal virya potency, choditam performance of, swa on jeev living, mayam external energy, prakritim onto material nature, sirkshatim while recreating, anam without mundane designation, rupatmani forms of the soul, rup namani forms and names, vidit samanaha manaha desiring to award, anusasar untrusted, shastrakrit the compiler of revealed scripture. So the personal Godhead, again desiring to give names and forms to his parts and parcels, the living entities, place them under the guidance of material nature. By his own potency, material nature is empowered to recreate. So that's what's going on. The living entities are parts and parcels of the Lord. There are of two varieties, namely Nitya Mukta and Nitya Bada. We are the Nitya Badas. The Nitya Muktas are eternally liberated souls, and they are eternally engaged in the reciprocation of transcendental loving service with the Lord in his eternal abode beyond the manifested mundane creations. But the Nitya Baddha, or eternally conditioned souls, are entrusted in his external energy Maya for rectification of their rebellious attitude towards the Supreme Father. Nitya Baddhas are eternally forgetful of their relation with the Lord as parts and parcels. They are bewildered by the illusion energy as products of matter, and thus they are very busy in making plans in the material world for becoming happy. They go on merrily with plans, but by the will of the Lord, both plan makers and the plans are annihilated at the end of a certain period, as above mentioned. This is confirmed in the Bhagavad-Gita 9.7 as follows. O son of Kunti, at the end of millennium, all the living entities merge into my nature. And again, when the time of recreation is ripe, I begin creation by the agency of my external energy. The word Bhuya indicates again and again, that is to say, the process of creation, maintenance, and annihilation is going on perpetually by the external energy of the Lord. He is the cause of everything, but the living beings who are constitutionally part and parcel of the Lord are forgetful of the sweet relation, are given a chance again and again to get rid of the clutches of the external energy and to revive his consciousness. The revealed scriptures are also created by the Lord Vedic literatures are the guiding directions for the conditioned souls so they can get free from the repetition of creation and annihilation of the material world and the material body. So sometimes the material world is compared to a prison house that we're locked up here, and we need to get out with good behavior. Sometimes it's compared to a playground. So Krishna says, you play on this ride, on that ride, like different lives. And when you've had enough, come back home. We like his children. So it's like that. We wanted to do things separately by ourselves. So Krishna, he fulfills all desires, and he gave us the opportunity to do so. We wanted to be in the material world. So he says, fine, you go in material world, and when you find that it's not good as you thought it might be, you always come back home. The Lord says in the Bhagavad-Gita, this created world and material energy are under my control. Under the influence of Prakriti, automatically they are created again and again. This is done through the agency of my external energy. Actually, the spiritual spark, living entities have no material names or forms. But in order to fulfill their desire to load it over the material energy or material forms and names, they are given a chance for such false enjoyment. And at the same time, they're given a chance to understand the real position through the revealed scriptures. So, like we were discussing before, that Krishna does give you a get-out clause as well. There is a get-out clause. It's not like, they're doomed for eternity. There is a get-out clause in this. Although he sent us there, he has also given us clues how to get out of there as well. There is an escape room. The foolish and the forgetful being is always busy with false forms and false names. Modern nationalism is a culmination of such false names and false forms. Men are mad after false name and form. The form of body obtained under certain condition is taken up as factual, and the name also taken bewilders the conditioned soul into misusing the energy in the name of so many isms. The scriptures, however, supply the clue for understanding the real position, but men are reluctant to take lessons from the scriptures created by the Lord for different places and times. For example, the Bhagavad-Gita is the guiding principle for all human beings, but by the spell of material energy, they do not take care to carry out the programs of life in terms of Bhagavad-Gita. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is a postgraduate study of knowledge for one who has thoroughly understood the principles of the Bhagavad-Gita. Unfortunately, people who have no taste for them, and therefore they are under the clutches of Maya for the repetition of birth and death. So it's like that we are living a life, and it's a temporary. It's not our real position. It's a temporary position, but we believe it as a permanent position. Or at least in living in the material world, we see that as a permanent position. And there's like movies like Recall or Total Recall, where a person has been like brainwashed, and some identity is inserted into his memory. They have like computer chips, or they have various software that will insert some kind of memory, and you start living that memory. You think, yes, you were born here, this is your wife, this is your children, this is your occupation, and you're living like that until you find out that you're not that person. So that software has been inserted into you, and you believing that is you. So like that, or sometimes they're trying to fool people, thinking that you're that person, and but when they actually find out that they are someone else, and then the process takes place to revive the old memory. So a bit like that, really. We have this memory of, or we believe that we are material body, and this material world is our home, but that is not the fact. Revealed by the scripture. The scriptures will jog our memory, the pastimes of Lord Krishna jogs our memory, because like there's neurons in the brain, just like when somebody loses their memory, that they take them back to those places where they're familiar with before, and that's what jogs their memory. Similarly, the neurons are excited by Krishna's pastime, that can, if you have a relationship, a rasa with Krishna, and then seeing different types of rasas, your neurons will be stimulated by that, because that will sort of bring back your memory, that not necessarily in the brain, but through your consciousness, which is eternal. It will bring back your memory that you have a relationship. This is how we find a relationship with Krishna, by the pastimes, that, oh, I'm his friend, or I'm his parental, or I was conjugal love relationship with him. The neurons get excited by seeing those, and you think, this looks familiar, this feels familiar, this feels good. That is my relationship. So it's like that. There's so many people make movies out of, it's like they've been reading the scriptures and they make films based on these things. Yeah. Okay. Shall we leave it here? So 22, maybe we can do one more. Let's quickly do one more. How big is this purport? What is 38? Leave it here? Yeah, I think we'll stop here. Otherwise, there won't be no time for discussion. So we've done up to 22. 22. Okay. Yeah, this is very good. So let's stop here, and we'll start with the Kiran Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, everybody.
Hare Krishna.
It gets better and better every verse, every sloka, and it confirms that to have the prema of Krishna, the Lord, there has to be attraction. Without attraction, there is no affinity, or there's no relationships. The attraction will give us love, and the love will give us acceptance, and that love and that acceptance will give us that surrender. Ultimately, it's that surrender that brings us closer to Krishna. There are people along the continuum who have partial affinity, unconditional affinity, and a level of, take it or leave it type of thing. And we've had this discussion before about the casualness or the unconditional approach to bhakti. And until you get some realization of the greatness of Krishna and his magnitude, then only people and individuals, and the people of Hastinapur, the ladies certainly knew, and all the inhabitants knew, because then there was longing. There was longing because there was going to be separation. Those are symptoms of deep prema, deep love. And then it goes on to discussing Krishna is not just a personality. He is the creation, the creativity, and the ultimate force behind the universe. And as individuals, we are lulled into a false sense of security, thinking, wow, I'm in this material world. I can lord it over nature. The three modes of nature impact all aspects of our lives. The three modes of nature also impact creation, creativity, and the Lord as well. We are a part and parcel of divinity, but we're only a small speck of his great magnitude. we have a choice. We can keep continue to have that cycle of birth, death, disease, and old age, and come back to Brahma's prison house. But the greater key to unlocking those gates are available to us. But the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam offers us the opportunity to understand Vishnu, Brahma, Krishna, Shiva, and all these entities, but ultimately Vishnu, Krishna is the one who is the creator of the whole that we see and pervade. There's only one Krishna. And he is the one who is responsible for the cycles that unfold within, without, throughout the whole of creation. And it's amazing that he is so merciful. He lets us go on the funfair rides, you know, the ride that goes up and the ride that goes down, so you can have your thrill going up, and then the ecstasy of coming back down. Enjoy the funfair whilst you want to. Then go on to another ride. We'll give you another body for that. And it's a little bit like what Keshava Maharaj has many times said. You know, this is a temporary nature. All the pieces that exist on a chessboard, the kings, the queens, the soldiers, the pawns, etc. At the end of the game, they all go into the box. That is where we will all end up, in some box. It doesn't matter whether you're a king, the queen. The monarchy had 2 deaths in 1 year. Many people think they live eternally, but no. And it is a game of musical chairs. When the music stops, somebody has to go out. And ultimately, when the game of musical chairs stop, only one remains. That's only Krishna who remains. He is the master DJ, the master player of the game. He's the one who controls when the music stops, who gets to what chair, and who stops, and who goes in, and who stays out. We are in a game of musical chairs. We are in a game of chess. Funfair is there, but it's for us to realize that this is only a temporary nature of our existence. And I must admit, aspects of the Bhagavatam I find difficult, because creativity, the churning of the ocean, Vishnu on the ocean, it has taken me several occasions to try and work it through. But that's good, because, you know, it's important to dig deep, drill deep, and sometimes things shouldn't be easy, because to get unconditional knowledge requires effort, motivation, and attention. Hare Krishna, thank you for the time and effort you spend with the devotees.
Thank you, Prabhu. Very nice. Ajay, Gaurav, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. So these few verses, they show how the wheel of time is constantly turning. We take everything for granted. Seasons go back and forth, and think, you know, it's just natural process. But it's actually the just showing how everything is being destroyed. Everything is there to give us a lesson. It's actually warning us that in this material world, time is not on your side. You need to make the most of your current opportunity. It's why so many jivas end up being considered nitya pada, eternally conditioned, because they have no understanding of what they're actually supposed to be doing, what they're actually in fact wasting their lives. So much so that it comes to the point that they don't actually have any interest in self-realization. And at the end of their lives, that is, they might panic right when right when they're approached by death. But then it's too late. You're on to the next life. You're not guaranteed. It could be an animal next life. It's in some ways it feels ridiculous that this is a situation happening time and time again, countless lives been through. It also shows Krishna's mercy, though, that doesn't give up on you. Anybody else, you think, if you can't, you've had so many opportunities where you don't get the message. Okay, this person's beyond reform, leave him. Krishna continues to give you opportunities. All you need to do is show your sincerity and you'll send someone to help you, whether it be the devotee, or it could be Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Send Bhagavatam to help guide you. And that's why it's important that we take this opportunity for ourselves to progress in our bhakti. We want to try and ideally what we want to do really is just make sure we remember Krishna at all times. Remember Krishna at all times. Wherever you are, whatever situation you are, you won't be flustered because you're constantly engaged in service of the Lord. And if we can give that, we do that for ourselves, give that to others, then we'll see people actually head towards the right path. People actually have some focus in terms of what they're supposed to do and what they can do for others.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Radharani.
Hare Krishna. Pranams to all of you. Yes, last week we learned, we finished when we were saying the last verse that by learning the devotion will come, and by devotion learning comes. So they both go hand in hand. It's not that we've started bhakti and that's it. No more learning. We don't need any guru. We can just continue. Because if we read these verses on our own, we will be totally, making our own judgments, our own conclusions, inferences according to which mode we are in. But when we are told by an Acharya, by a living guru as well, because Acharyas, they live within their Vani, but the guru who is there, they will tell us according, when the time changes, the instructions have to be, given in a different way so that the person can understand what's happening. So these verses are giving us so much understanding and knowledge about bhakti, what bhakti is all about. Here we heard about these three kinds of pralaya which take place. There's the ultimate pralaya when all the yugas finish, everything goes inside Vishnu. We as subtle bodies remain in him and he just lies on the causal ocean. And then another pralaya when Brahma's day ends. And the third time is us as jivas, we are dying all the time because our cells are dying all the time, new cells are generated. And when our time is up, we have to leave. So there are three kinds of pralaya going all the time. And if it wasn't for our acharyas, I don't think we would think this deep or even understand what's going on. And like yesterday's event, the lunar eclipse. So these are also leelas of Krishna, who can do all these? No other intelligent or scientific person with a scientific bent can create these events. These are only created by Lord. So that reminds us that there is a bigger controller behind everything in the cosmos. And Lord is perceived by the devotees who have mastered to realize Lord. So there's so many ways people realize Lord. different yogas. I don't know if you've covered verse 23 or not.
Not yet.
Not yet. Oh, sorry. I'm going to 23. Yeah. All right. So yeah. So we are conditioned nitya baddhas, and we can see we have our own conclusions about things in our head, and we like to stick by it. And that's why I think sometimes it's hard to understand Bhagavatam in the beginning, because everything what Bhagavatam or Bhagavad-Gita, because whatever we are conditioned to, these shastras are telling absolutely different truth regards to everything. So to know that no, we are not going to be here forever. Whatever we are acquiring is only going to be used by us and in our lifetimes. After that, like even the science says that the energy is constant. It's neither created nor destroyed, and it remains. That's why Prabhupada says this is a scientific knowledge. Even when the world is destroyed, everything is stored inside Vishnu. When the time is right for another yuga, everything is generated. Brahma comes and everything, like we'll learn in Canto 3 and 4. So it's so much. I know it's so much. I remember in the beginning, I used to get confused as well. Okay, there is Krishna. Then they say there is a Garbhodakshai Vishnu, there is Kshirodakshai, and the first one is the Karanodakshai Vishnu. So you to get your head around is difficult, and this is where, you know, attending these sanghas and attending the sessions verse by verse comes so handy, so we can consolidate our understanding. And this understanding is given to us, I think, in Bhagavatam, is to remind us that what is the real purpose of life, what are we here for, and okay, we have to be happy a little bit as well, we have to enjoy our lives as well, but enjoy that with Krishna in the center. This is reminded again and again in the verses of Bhagavatam. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much. Yeah, like Kiran Prabhu mentioned that we are just a small speck, very, very small speck in the scheme of things. And when we understand Krishna's greatness and our, mundaneness in comparison, our mundaneness in terms of planet, in terms of our circle, our bodies, even our soul. We're just so tiny, but we make so much big fuss about everything. So once you start understanding all that, then you sort of calm down. That what we say that, oh well, it's important to me, but the things that we sometimes think are very very important may not be really that important. And what is important is going back to where we belong, and other things waste time and energy on. Maybe we take some time and energy from that, borrow some energy from there and use it in the right direction, because we are creatures of habits, and sometimes our principles even can lead us in a direction that is not beneficial to us. So there has to be a balance, thinking, well, it's maybe what I'm just doing, these other mundane things are not really important as I thought they were. And apply yourselves. Now all our energy really should be for Krishna, because he's given us the energy and we should use it in his service. Thank you all so much, and we'll catch up again on Wednesday and discuss more. Thank you for your input. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Go Premanande. Hari Hari Bol. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.